What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to a brand new commentary video. Like I said in the last video, we're right back at it, ladies and gentlemen. And today we got some Black Ops 6 gameplay for you guys. Once again, the game is in early access. If you are a Game Pass subscriber, hop in, play it. It's pretty good so far. I'm going to make a whole separate video giving my thoughts and opinions on the game so far. But overall, I'd say it's a good time. And, we'll talk about that more at a later time. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you all so much for clicking on this video. Once again, I want to say, thank you for being here. If you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It helps us and lets us know that you guys like these kind of videos, and we'll put out more of them. And also, once again, last shout out before we get into this, there's a link down in the description to join our Discord. You can just come in, hang out, and chat with us. We just like to have a good time with you guys. But anyways, let's get right into this. I've held you guys up enough. So anyways, today we kind of have two topics that we're going to wrap into one. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about how to find your creative process, and also how to become a better storyteller with finding that creative process. So first of all, what is a creative process? So a creative process is sort of the process of creating something creative. I know, really fucking basic, and I'm, kind of redundant, but that's what it is. So it's essentially something that you do to get yourself in this mindset and in this creative space to be able to create something, right? And everybody that makes something and is made a living at it has some sort of creative process. And the first thing that I'm going to say is something that I actually had a professor say to me that has done a lot of great work. He's worked on things like Riverdale, and he's done a lot of great stuff. And he told us nobody's creative process is rolling up a joint or cracking open a beer and then writing something fantastic. And he's like, there are a couple people out there that can do that, but they are creative geniuses, and you are not going to be one of them. And I think that's also a really important thing, because a lot of people, when I talk to them about what they do to sort of create their ideas or, kind of do what they want to do, a lot of people kind of get to that point where they're like, well, what I typically do is that I light a candle and I roll a blunt. No offense, dude, but that's not really a creative process. At that point, it's more something that you like to do while you're high as part of it. And look, you might be one of the 3 people on this earth currently that can do that, okay? You and Joe Rogan are doing great, okay? But the thing is that a lot of people aren't going to be able to do that. And what really is important is that you need to be able to find that yourself. Is that there's really not one sets all for everybody. But I want to talk about a little bit about what my creative process is. So when it comes to these videos, what I typically do is that I first start out by I look at whatever you guys enjoyed last, whatever it was about the video, what the topic was about, right? So like, let's say last week's topic was about, how to get over anxiety, right? And I see that did really well. Well, now I'm going to start by on a piece of paper or in my notes app or whatever, somewhere that I can physically draw it. I'm going to draw out the word anxiety. And then from there, I'm going to be able to create a little branch map. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I'll put one on screen. Basically what this is it's sort of like trying to basically break ideas off of that idea, right? We have one general idea, and we're going to try to break it down into different categories. We can break it down by social anxiety. We can break it down by relationship anxiety, different types of anxiety. We can break it down that way. We can break it down by certain symptoms of anxiety. That's one of the first things that I will do. And I would think about, can I find something to talk about or something that I'm passionate about based off of that set of metrics? And if I don't, that's okay. That's sort of where the next step comes into play. Then what I end up doing is I usually put on my headphones and I just go for a walk. And I look at the world around me. And it's really easy to do downtown here is that I walk a couple blocks. I might go grab a coffee or something, whatever it may be for the day. And I just kind of think. I don't focus on the music really. I just kind of focus on the world around me and I just think. And sometimes I have my phone out, sometimes I don't, but I'll jot down some ideas that come to my brain. Literally today, I was like, all right, what are some ideas that I can talk about? And it came up with the idea of storytelling. And I was like, okay, I like that idea, but I didn't feel like it was enough. I didn't feel like it was enough for a video. So then I was like, okay, what can we do to expand off of that storytelling idea? Well, we can talk about how I get to that point to be able to create a story or create a character. So that's sort of what my creative process is. A lot of people's creative processes are different. Some people simply indulge in other people's work, and that can help them. Some people draw. Some people, just kind of sit in the dark and think for a while. That can also work. And what I also think is important is also finding a nice balance between, work, yourself, and, your creative ideas. I don't think that just sticking to one or sticking to the other is a good thing. I think it's a good idea to have a balance and to be able to create this environment where you are going to be able to express yourself however you want, and you're going to be able to do it in a way that is comfortable for you. And once you find this comfortability, you're going to be able to find that creative space easily, right? You're going to be able to find where you want to be in life and what you want to create way more easier. Once you find the passion, you can go ahead and, kind of set that up for the future so that you're sort of ready to quickly get into that creative space. Like for me, I can do it fairly quickly, considering the fact that I've been making these videos for a while now, and I'm able to put myself in a creative space. And when it comes to like the podcast or something, it's a little different. It's really funny, actually. When it comes to the podcast or something that I have to sit down and be funny for an hour, I genuinely just kind of sit there and get my alone time in, right? Because I'm kind of an introvert, so it's kind of nice to be able to get my own time in before I'm about to, spend the next hour and a half or whatever it is that we're recording that week to get ready for the podcast. And I just have a chance to sort of chill out and find myself and figure out, what I want to tell is, what I want to be the funny man. I'm ready to be the funny man when I need to be the funny man, right? Then that's sort of my creative process for that. But once again, if you have any questions about the creative process, feel free to leave a comment, reach out, whatever you need to do. I'm glad to talk about it with you more. But that's really all I have on creative processes. But I do want to talk a little bit about storytelling, because I saw a really interesting conversation having online. And a lot of people kind of talk about how to be better storytellers, right? And one thing that I saw years ago that really sort of changed the way that I've written stories for the last couple of years is actually a moment from South Park. Well, not a moment from South Park, but something from the creators of South Park. And obviously South Park is one of the most let's be honest, creative, if not crude, it's crude, but one of the most creative and most influential shows in storytelling. Trey Parker and Matt Stone have done something different that most stories aren't able to do. And when I'm creating a story or I'm creating a character, whether if it's myself as a character or anything, I always stop, or when I'm critiquing somebody's work, I always stop and tell myself these sort of things. We're going to talk about that a little bit. So what is this thing that I've kind of not said yet? Well, most people, when they write a story, they sort of write it like this. They say, okay, I went to the store and then I bought grapes, right? This is a really basic, more real life example compared to a story. But that's the real basic example, right? Stop writing your fucking stories like that. That is how you write a shitty goddamn story, all right? Here's how you actually write a story, right? So let's just pretend for a second, right? So I went to the store to buy grapes. I went to the store, therefore I bought grapes. But there was a duck pestering me about lemonade. See the difference there? See the difference with that wording, how it changes very quickly, right? So basically anything that happens in a story needs to have a cause and effect, right? That's the big thing here, is that every single story needs a cause and effect. And when you write in this sort of thing where you say, and then, and you continue it on this trail, you're not really having a cause and effect. Instead, you're just having the effect. There's no cause. We haven't figured out what the cause is. What is that cause? What is causing your character or the characters in your story to have this sort of reaction? What is changing to happen to have this cause in the story, right? We need to have cause to have effect. And most people don't have that when you write, right? Well, when I say more amateur writers, is when you look at Hollywood and you look at most Hollywood projects that get off the ground and most Hollywood projects that we sort of look at every single day, they do follow that, and most people follow that, and you kind of need to if you want to be successful in this industry. One of the biggest examples that I'm going to use is the episode of The Office where there is a fire drill, right? So this is how it's broken down, okay? Michael pulls the fire alarm. Therefore, the office panics. But Stanley has a heart attack, right? Okay? This is essentially the first act of that episode, right? This is sort of the first rising arc of this storyline, right? When you write it like that, it sounds pretty interesting. However, if we write it like Michael pulls the fire alarm, then Stanley has a heart attack, we're not creating a cause and effect. What we're actually just doing is we're skipping straight to the effect, and that's the issue. You need to stop writing simply for the end goal. You need to be able to write something in the middle that makes sense to cause the effect to happen. But anyways, that's the biggest tip I will give you. The other second tip that I really think is important, that I tell people all the time when I am critiquing work and I'm reading somebody's work, is if I am reading something about your character, let's pretend for a second that this story is either first person or third person that follows one character, one between three. If it's a large group, that's a little different, but that's not today's discussion. Let's pretend for a second that you are writing about a specific character, right? Just to bring back The Office for a second. If we are developing Michael's character and we are going through the arc where he falls in love with Holly and, we see what he's doing for Holly, right? Let's say that happens, except we spend too much time talking about Michael's favorite kind of pen, or we spend too much time talking about Michael's favorite kind of paperclip, or we spend too much time on Michael that doesn't have to do with Holly, the interesting part of this character arc. Why the fuck aren't you writing about that? I see way too many amateur writers and creators spend way too much time on shit that nobody cares about. If you're not writing about the most interesting part of your character's life, why aren't you writing about that? I want you to ask yourself, when we are giving character exposition and we are trying to develop a character, sometimes you don't fucking need all that shit, right? And when you're writing, I want you to stop and ask yourself. And I've looked at multiple freshmen in the eyes when I read their scripts, and I look at them and I say, why the fuck are we talking about what they had for dinner? What does this add, right? And that's what I'm specifically asking, right? I'm not trying to be a douche and being like, I don't like this. I'm trying to understand, why is this more important than the ongoing war? Or why is this more important than the ongoing conflict, right? What makes this more important to you? And I want to understand that. And you need to ask yourself this. And if you can't think of a reason, cut that shit out. You need to stop that. You need to be able to develop a character in a timely fashion so that the reader is still engaged or the viewer is still engaged. If you're simply just focusing on shit that nobody cares about, nobody's going to care about your story. That's one of the biggest tips that I'm going to give you, man. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I hope today's video helped. Once again, if you have any suggestions or you need any more further assistance or anything like that, feel free to leave a comment, reach out via social media or Discord. Anyways, guys, I want to say thanks once again for clicking on this video. I know that things have been crazy the last month and a half. If you haven't already, I released a video yesterday talking about all that kind of stuff, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions or comments or anything like that. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you have a good rest of your day, and peace.